Hey guys, my name is Joanna, also known as Just Another Flutist here on YouTube, and today we're going to be talking about orchestra hierarchy. So I thought I would share with you guys my experience with how orchestra hierarchy works and how it has changed over the years. When I was a kid, I wasn't really taught what the hierarchy was supposed to be, like who are you supposed to report to depending on which chair you're sitting in. I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm a little sister, so I'm very used to following other people. Like, I would rather not be the one who goes up to the conductor and asks the question, you know? I would rather just ask my big brother or big sister. That is the person who is sitting in the principal chair. Without knowing it, I actually was sort of following what you're traditionally supposed to do in an orchestra setting. Traditionally, if you do not sit in the principal chair, you are not supposed to go and directly ask the conductor questions. You're actually supposed to ask your principal chair the questions first, and whatever they say pretty much goes. If they don't know what to do, then they're the ones who go ask the conductor. So this accomplishes a couple of things. One, the conductor will not get a whole bunch of questions that are exactly the same that he has to answer over and over again. Chances are, if you're asking the question, the people around you are probably asking the same question too. So if everyone in one section just asks their principal chair, and then their principal chair goes to ask the question, then that's only one question that the conductor has to answer. And therefore, that saves the conductor a heck of a lot of time. And we all know conductors do not have enough time. They're studying the score, they're trying to make sure that all of these parts are fitting together. It's a lot on their plate, and if they're getting the same question over and over and over again, that can really hinder how much he can lead you as a conductor, because he'll end up spending more time on sort of like the technical aspects of like, oh, what note is this supposed to be, or what rhythm is this supposed to be, rather than spending time on like stylistic things, like how he wants you to play something rather than what he wants you to play. The second thing, which now I think maybe a little bit controversial to talk about, is that it's a respect kind of thing. If you are sitting in the second or third chair, traditionally it's seen that you are reporting to your principal chair, and your principal chair is your leader. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to bypass your leader to ask your leader's leader a question. I have noticed that, you know, if you are not aware of how this orchestra hierarchy works, if you as a second or third chair just end up asking the conductor a question because maybe it's just convenient for you during orchestra break time or whatever, sometimes the principal chair can get offended by that because it's as if you don't trust the principal chair to tell you the correct thing. You can get into a lot of, I guess, unnecessary drama in that way if you don't know how traditional orchestral hierarchy works. In my experience, I always reported to my principal chair because I was just too shy to talk to the conductor. My personality is such that I would rather not make the calls. I was forced into this position though when I became principal flutist of the orchestra and wind ensemble at the San Francisco State University when I was doing my master's there. It was uncomfortable because like suddenly I had all these people reporting to me, and then I had to be the one asking the conductor. Thank goodness both conductors of the wind ensemble, who at that point was Dr. Zegelka, and the orchestra, Dr. Jinwala. Both of those conductors, very, very awesome people, which leads quite nicely into my next point, because one of the reasons why those two conductors were particularly awesome is because they have a more sort of collaborative approach to conducting. I personally have noticed in the past somewhere around 10 to 20 years, there's been a slow shift in how conductors are perceived in orchestras these days. A lot of this new wave of conductors, they would rather hear their musicians tell them what they think of the music too, because it would enhance the conductor's vision of the piece and the conductor's interpretation of the piece. In that way, you're not just stuck with just one person's interpretation of the music. The music then becomes a collaboration of all of the musicians in the orchestra, like all of our interpretation of the music, to create this one big interpretation that would not otherwise have been made if there wasn't more input from more musicians. So I've noticed that this attitude has now made it not as bad of a thing now to speak up as a second or third chair. But then again, like I said before, you do run into the possibility of wasting the conductor's time a little bit too much if too many people are saying too many things. I've noticed that right now a lot of orchestras, and my orchestra too, is we're trying to strike a balance between being super collaborative but also being orderly. Like, the nice thing about the old traditional orchestral hierarchy was that it was very organized, very orderly. Almost nothing could go wrong because you're just following one person's vision, and you as a second or third chair, you're just reporting to this one person, and as a principal chair, you're only reporting to one person too. So it simplifies your job. But once you introduce this sort of collaborative spirit, it does complicate things. But at the same time, your end result is a lot more colorful and it's a lot more interesting because it's like an amalgamation of many minds. I kind of feel like we're sort of in an awkward transition into like a new way of seeing how orchestras should work together. I feel like there's a lot of variables at hand though, because yes, it's awesome to be super collaborative and have everyone put in their input, but at the same time you have to count in people's personalities too. Like I said, for me, I would rather not make the calls because that's just my own personality. I don't like making the calls when it comes to musical interpretation. Obviously, I do have my own input. I do have my own thoughts of how the music should go. I do have that, but I don't like making the final call. I don't like to say, this is how we're doing it, do it my way. That's not my personality. That is also not the personality of many other people. So people like me do actually feel very comfortable in the traditional orchestral hierarchy because it means that I don't have to talk very much. I can just sit there and just go along with whatever everyone else is playing and not worry about having to put my own input into it. I also personally find it really fun to explore other people's interpretation anyway. Like, even if I disagree with it, it's cool to kind of see why they interpret the music that way. The big skill that I learned from the traditional orchestral hierarchy is to kind of read your peers and your conductor's mind. You observe how your peers play, you observe how your conductor conducts, and you observe how they generally like to interpret things. And after a few rehearsals, you kind of get the hang of what everyone's personality is like. And it actually becomes fairly easy to sort of predict what they will like to do with a piece of music. Everything comes together really beautifully because you're just going along with what you are predicting what their interpretation is going to be. I have found that skill to be really, really useful because there's a lot of things that the conductor and my peers don't have to explain to me for me to be able to follow them. It can be anything from like, you know, how long do I hold the end of this note? Exactly how are you doing this accelerando? How soft are you diminuendoing here? You know what I mean? Like, all those little things, if you just observe the people around you, you'll actually kind of get a feel of how each person likes to do it. As you can see, like with this skill, you end up taking out a lot of discussion time, which means that you can spend more time actually rehearsing stylistic things or very, very technical things that are very, very difficult to put together. It takes out a lot of talking. I'm not saying that talking is bad. There are some points where you just have to sit down and talk it out. The conductor has to talk it out with you guys, or you as a section have to talk it out with each other, like exactly how you're going to tackle this like one phrase or this one section or whatever. Absolutely, talking is necessary. But if you can already predict what people are going to do and you just kind of go along with it, you can really concentrate all of your talking points on like the really important parts of the pieces rather than little tiny, really easy technical things here and there, like not agreeing on how tenuto you're going to play a note tenuto, you know? So that's the good part that I learned from traditional orchestral hierarchy. But you guys know me, I'm on YouTube, and YouTube is a very collaborative space. I enjoy that collaborative spirit too. In an orchestral setting, I enjoy it from sort of the sidelines. Like, I enjoy watching my principal flutist discussing with the conductor, like, how we should do a certain part. It's fun to sit there and listen to it. Do I want to put in my input? Not really, unless I'm playing a solo piccolo part. Okay, like if I'm playing a solo piccolo part, then okay, of course, I will put in my input and I'm just gonna play it the way I think it should be played, and we will hope that it will go along with what the conductor wants. Luckily, our conductor is awesome. I know you're watching this, by the way. You're awesome. Okay? It's very easy to work with him, and it's very easy to talk with him. You can put in your input and you could try things, and he absolutely loves it when you try your own interpretation of things. It's great. It allows you a lot of freedom. I personally feel that my orchestra is kind of like a mixture of the traditional orchestral hierarchy with this new-ish collaborative spirit. I love it. I feel like it's a perfect fit for me because it fits my personality really well. I'm very, very comfortable in this setting. I would like to know what you guys think. I know that I have viewers from all walks of life. I know some of you have like master's, doctoral in the flute, and there are those of you who are just starting on the flute, and there are also those of you who don't even play the flute. Some of you don't even play a musical instrument, which is totally fine by me, by the way. Welcome to this channel. We all welcome you with open arms. Have you noticed this change too? Is it just me? I don't know. I thought I would bring it up with you guys. It was on my mind for the past week or so, especially since I've gotten my music now for my orchestra concert next week. And as usual, if you guys like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. This is my last video, which I will put a link for you guys up here. If you want to catch me on my social media networks, they are down there, but otherwise I will see you guys next week. Bye. I'm just gonna do one take and that's it.